you've written about this. I mean, CBO has really, I think, earned its reputation for being straight shooters. Whether you agree with them or not, it does not have a partisan agenda, and that's attributable to some of the directors over the years, I think.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first director of CBO was Alice Rivlin, and Alice Rivlin is who died about 5 years ago. Is was a giant in American public policy, and she set up, and it's sort of remarkable to me that she basically created this organization. She created it from nothing. There was very little detail in the law about what CBO would be. It had a requirement that it would produce particular things. And so, but when she set it up, the only thing the law said was that the CBO director should be appointed, quote, without regard to partisan affiliation. Then the CBO director gets to hire all of the other staff. And essentially, she set up lots of norms and expectations up front, which have been universally complied with by all of the other directors. And the most important decision that she made up front was that CBO would not make policy recommendations. Somebody said to me once, if you ask CBO how much something costs, we'll tell you how much something costs. If you ask us whether it's a good idea, we'll tell you how much it costs.
Yeah.
And the notion was that the minute they started telling the Congress, you should do this or you should not do that, then that was too dangerous in terms of sort of, straying into, what really would be sort of political territory. But when you talk about CBO's reputation, CBO developed that reputation because there were particular points in time when they normally challenged things that were coming out of the executive branch. It started actually with President Jimmy Carter's energy policy, and CBO essentially said, this isn't going to be as great as we think we think it's not going to be as great as the president says. But it really came to a head in the Reagan administration when President Reagan argued, and this is very familiar sort of territory. President Reagan argued that you could cut taxes and that the tax cuts would pay for themselves. And the reason they would pay for themselves is because they would lead to so much economic growth. And CBO said, no, we don't think so. And President Reagan actually, called the CBO numbers phony numbers, and actually tried to get Alice Rivlin fired. And there were some key Republican senators, especially Senator Bob Dole, Senator Pete Domenici, that essentially said, no, we'll decide whether she's doing a good job or not. And, it's not your business to tell us who to fire. But that was the point at which really the media discovered CBO, right? And I think one of the things when I was writing the book, one of the things that really came very clear to me is that over time, CBO replaced OMB as the source for what were considered to be the best, most objective numbers on the budget. And it was very much because people understood that they really didn't have a horse in this race. They were just trying to come up with the best numbers that they could. And of course, in the process of doing that, they take fire from both sides, right? Whoever it is that, that proposed the policy that you're throwing cold water on, then they're gonna, argue that you're wrong. And this is what's been most unfortunate about this latest, I think, experience. They're going to argue that you're partisan. And I think saying that you think CBO might be wrong, to me, is totally within the bounds of, what anybody should be willing to do. And if you think they're wrong, say why you think they're wrong. But to argue that they are trying, to either prevent something from happening or they are trying to kind of make something happen because they have some partisan agenda, I think based on my experience, all my observation, and everything I know, I think that's just wrong.